At my sister's wedding, right in the middle of the toasts, my mom lifts her glass and smiles at me. Then she says, loud enough for the whole table to hear, "So, when's it your turn?" I didn't even flinch. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, 8 months ago. Then I leaned in a little and added, "You were invited, but your favorite daughter made sure you never saw it. She threw it in the trash." My own mother looked me dead in the eye at my sister's extravagant wedding, a fake smile plastered on her face, and asked me, "So, Amelia, when's your turn?" I swallowed the lump in my throat, looked right back at her, and said, 8 months ago. But your favorite daughter here made sure you never knew. The silence that followed wasn't just quiet. It was suffocating. We were standing there, in front of 300 guests, under crystal chandeliers that probably cost more than my entire wedding. My mom, Eleanor, had just raised her champagne glass, flashing that familiar, practiced smile, a toxic blend of pity and manufactured concern she'd perfected over the years. She'd pointedly ask me, "So, Amelia, sweetheart, when is it going to be your turn?" The string quartet was still playing, faintly in the corner. Forks still clinked against expensive china. But it was that specific, chilling kind of quiet where everyone nearby suddenly stops their own conversations. They turn their heads. They know something dramatic is about to happen. I just stood there. I looked at my mother, then at my dad, David, sitting beside her, already looking profoundly uncomfortable, which, let's be honest, was his usual state whenever the spotlight landed on me. And then I looked at my sister, Serena, my younger sister, radiating perfection in her $18,000 Vera Wang gown, her perfectly highlighted hair a waterfall down her shoulders. I could practically hear her 2 million Instagram followers double-tapping photos of her perfect day right at that moment. 8 months ago, I said, clearly, my voice slicing through the tension. I got married 8 months ago. You were invited. All of you were invited. But my favorite daughter over there, I gestured subtly towards Serena. She threw the invitation in the trash. That's when the quiet truly became silence. An absolute, suffocating, ear-ringing silence. 300 guests stopped mid-sentence, mid-chew. The string quartet's music faded to nothing. Serena's champagne glass, poised halfway to her lips, froze. "You're lying." Serena's voice cut through the stillness like a desperate, sharpened knife. "You're just trying to ruin my day because you're jealous." Mom's confused smile wavered. She looked back and forth between Serena and me, like I'd just handed her a puzzle with half the pieces missing. "Amelia, sweetheart, what are you talking about? We never received any wedding invitation. You never told us you were getting married." "February 12th, I replied, my voice steady despite the frantic pounding in my chest. I had rehearsed this moment, mentally, countless times. FedEx overnight delivery. Signature required. 4 velvet invitation boxes with hand-tied ivory ribbons. I paused, letting the words hang in the air. Serena signed for the package at 10:15 a.m. My dad, David, stood up, his face already turning that familiar shade of furious red. I knew what that meant. Yelling was imminent. If you sent invitations and we didn't respond, why didn't you call us? Why didn't you follow up? You expect us to believe you just got married without your family and never said anything. Because I trusted my family, I shot back, the word trusted catching in my throat, almost a sob. I truly had. I waited 30 minutes at my ceremony, staring at your empty reserved seats in the front row. I had painted little wooden signs with your names on them. Mom, I decorated yours with daisies because you mentioned liking them at Thanksgiving 7 years ago. Dad, yours had a golf club because you always talked about teaching me to play, even though you never did. Serena, yours had a little camera because I thought you'd want to film content for your followers. My throat was tightening, but I pushed through, determined. I stood there in my dress. I continued, not Vera Wang, just David's bridal, because I'm an architect, not an influencer. And I waited. My husband Ben's family was so embarrassed for me. His mother, Evelyn, kept asking if she should call you. I kept saying, you were probably just running late. It wasn't like this was new. I'd been estranged from my family, in all but name, for 6 years. Ever since I'd graduated from the University of Texas with my architecture degree and moved to Austin, instead of staying in Dallas near them. Near them, really, meant in Serena's shadow. But nobody ever dared to say that out loud. Serena was 3 years younger than me. I was 31, she was 28. But she'd always been the golden child. The beautiful one. The successful one. The one with 2.3 million Instagram followers and brand partnerships with companies like Glossier and Revolve. She made $400,000 a year posting photos of herself in expensive clothes and talking about her authentic journey. I made $89,000 a year designing residential and commercial spaces. Good money, respectable money, but not influencer money. Not money that came with free vacations and designer handbags and magazine features. Our parents, David and Eleanor Montgomery, had always favored Serena. I knew it since I was 7, and Serena got the lead in the school play, while I got to paint sets. Since I was 12, and Serena got a sweet 16 party with 200 guests while I got dinner at Olive Garden for my 16th birthday. Since I was 23 and graduated summa cum laude and got a card in the mail, while Serena posted her first viral video and got a surprise party with a live DJ. But I'd always told myself it didn't matter. I was the mature one. The independent one. The one who didn't need validation. I'd built a good life in Austin. I had friends. I had a career. And then I'd met Ben. Ben Vance, cybersecurity analyst. Kind. Funny. The kind of man who remembered how you took your coffee and never, ever made you feel small for not being exceptional. We dated for 2 years before he proposed. Nothing dramatic, just us on a camping trip in Big Bend under the stars. Him asking if I wanted to spend our lives together. I'd said yes. And then I'd made the mistake of thinking my family might actually care. The invitation boxes had cost me $400 total, handmade by a small business in Austin, velvet-lined with custom calligraphy. Each one contained a formal invitation printed on heavy cardstock, a details card with the venue address and time, and a handwritten note from me. My mother's note said, "Mom, I'd love for you to be there when I marry the love of my life. I know we haven't been close lately, but this day would mean everything to me if you came. Love, Amelia." My father's note said, "Dad, I hope you'll walk me down the aisle. I've been dreaming about that moment since I was a little girl. Please come. Love, Amelia." Serena's note said, "Serena, I know you're busy with your career, but you're my only sister. I'd love for you to be my maid of honor, if you're willing. I miss you. Love, Amelia." I'd spent 3 hours writing those notes, trying to find the right words, honest but not desperate, loving but not pathetic. I'd FedEx them overnight because I wanted to make sure they arrived safely and because I was giving them 6 weeks' notice. Plenty of time to plan, to book flights, to clear their calendars. The wedding was March 29th. A small ceremony at a botanical garden in Austin. 50 guests, Ben's family, our friends from work, our college roommates. Simple, but beautiful. I designed the ceremony arch myself, a wooden structure covered in climbing jasmine. I'd reserved 4 seats in the front row, decorated them with the painted wooden signs, set out programs with "reserved for Montgomery family" printed on them. And I'd waited. 10 a.m. ceremony start time. No Montgomerys. 10:15 a.m. Ben's mother, Evelyn, squeezed my hand and whispered, "Should we wait a bit longer?" I nodded. 10:23 a.m. The minister asked if we wanted to start. I shook my head. 10:30 a.m. I texted my mother. Running late. Ceremonies starting soon. No response. 10:31 a.m. I called. Straight to voicemail. 10:33 a.m. I called my father. Voicemail. 10:34 a.m. I called Serena. She answered breathless. "What are you coming?" "Coming to what?" "My wedding. I sent you an invitation. You signed for it 3 weeks ago." A pause. A long, agonizing pause. Then, "Oh, that. Yeah, I'm busy today. Photo shoot for a new skincare line. Sorry, can't make it." She hung up. At 10:38 a.m., I started walking down the aisle alone. Ben's father, seeing what was happening, stepped forward and offered me his arm. I took it. I cried through the entire ceremony. Not happy tears. Devastated tears. But I married Ben anyway because he was worth it. Even if my family wasn't there to see it. Back at Serena's reception, my mother, Eleanor, was shaking her head frantically. Amelia, I swear to you, we never got any invitation. There must have been some mistake. The mail gets lost sometimes. Packages get stolen. You can't possibly think we would intentionally miss your wedding. That's exactly what I think, I said. Because I have proof. Arthur Sterling, Serena's new husband of approximately 6 hours, a corporate attorney at Sterling and Associates, son of one of Dallas's wealthiest real estate developers, leaned forward. His lawyer instincts were clearly firing. Proof? What kind of proof? I pulled out my phone. I'm an architect. 6 years ago, I designed the electrical and security systems for my parents' house when they did their renovation. Full smart home integration, professional-grade security cameras, network video recorder with 2-year data retention. I watched the color drain from Serena's face. She knew exactly where this was going. You're bluffing, she whispered. The admin password was never changed. I continued, looking directly at my father. I recommended you change it twice via email, in 2019 and again in 2021. You never did. The system's been sending me weekly backup reports to my email this entire time. I just never bothered to look at them. Until 3 weeks ago, when I was designing a security system for a client and remembered I still had access to my old work. I turned my phone around. On the screen was crystal clear 1080p footage from the front door camera. The timestamp read, February 12th, 2024, 10:14 a.m. My husband, Ben, I added, looking at him, cybersecurity analyst, by the way, he helped me access the archived footage remotely. Completely legal, since it's my own system design, and I never formally relinquished admin rights. I pressed play. The footage played on my phone, but I'd already airdropped it to my iPad, which was now connected to the reception venue's AV system. The video appeared on the massive screens flanking the head table, the very same screens that had been showing Serena's professional engagement photos all night. 300 people watched. A FedEx truck pulling up. The driver in uniform, carrying a distinctive blue and white package. Walking to the front door, ringing the doorbell. Serena answering. She was wearing black yoga pants and an oversized hoodie. Her hair in a messy bun. No makeup. The real Serena, not the Instagram version. She signed the driver's tablet. Accepted the package. Then, the critical moment. Serena looking down at the return address label. Reading it. Her expression changing from neutral to something cold, calculating and cruel. I watched her mouth move, reading aloud. Amelia and Ben Vance. She glanced around, checking to see if anyone was watching from inside the house. Then she walked to the side of the house, where the recycling bins sat behind decorative lattice screening. No hesitation. No pause. No moment of guilt or consideration. She opened the blue recycling bin and hurled the package inside like it was garbage. Like my wedding invitation was trash. Then she turned and walked back into the house, pulling out her phone, laughing at something on the screen. The video ended. The reception hall stayed frozen. 300 people staring at the screens. At Serena. At me. Arthur Sterling's face had gone carefully, deliberately blank. The kind of blank that lawyers get when they're processing information that changes everything. He turned to Serena slowly. You threw your sister's wedding invitation in the trash. I can explain. Serena started, her voice high and panicky. Because you were jealous. Arthur's voice was quiet, controlled, which somehow made it worse than if he'd been yelling. Because you couldn't handle anyone else having a moment that wasn't about you. Arthur, please, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. He stood up abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. You gave her that book as a wedding gift tonight. That How to Die Alone book. I thought it was a weird joke, but you knew. You knew she was married this whole time. I'd almost forgotten about the gift. When I'd arrived at the reception, I'd been invited as a guest, not a bridesmaid, because apparently I wasn't close enough to the family anymore. Serena had made a big show of giving me a wrapped present in front of her friends. "Since you're still single," she'd said loudly, "I thought this might help." Then she'd laughed, and her friends had laughed, and I'd opened it to find a book called How to Die Alone, a guide for the rest of us, with a pink cover and a cartoon of a sad woman with cats. I just smiled, said, "Thank you," and put it in my purse, because I'd been saving my moment. "You humiliated her at Christmas," Arthur continued, his voice getting harder, colder. "I was there. I watched you tell everyone at the family dinner that Amelia was going to end up alone with cats. I watched you post on Instagram about how sad it was that your older sister couldn't find anyone. And the whole time, you knew she was married." My mother, Eleanor, tried to intervene. "Arthur, let's not be hasty. Serena made a mistake, but surely we can—" "A mistake?" Arthur pulled his wedding ring off, the platinum band he'd been wearing for exactly 6 hours and 43 minutes. He placed it on the reception table with a deliberate click that echoed through the microphone system. "Mrs. Montgomery, your daughter is cruel. Deliberately, calculatedly cruel. And I won't spend my life with someone who destroys other people for sport." Serena's face crumpled. "You can't do this. Not here. Not in front of everyone. Arthur, please. I love you." "You don't love anyone but yourself," he said, his voice flat. "You proved that when you threw your sister's wedding invitation in the trash. You proved it every time you humiliated her. You proved it tonight when you gave her that book." He turned to me. "I'm sorry for what my family's company is about to do, but you should know. You deserve to know that this isn't your fault." His father, George Sterling, stood beside him. A tall man in his 60s, distinguished in that way old money makes people distinguished. He looked at my father, David, with an expression of pure, unadulterated disappointment. "David, that merger project we discussed, the commercial development in Fort Worth, consider it canceled. Sterling Group doesn't do business with families that lack integrity." My father's face went ashen. I knew about that merger. Dad had been talking about it for months. His property development company partnering with Sterling Group on a $50 million mixed-use development. The deal that was supposed to set up his retirement. The deal that would have made him genuinely wealthy, instead of just comfortable. "George, please," Dad said, standing up. "We can talk about this. This is a family matter. It doesn't need to affect business." "It affects everything," George said coldly. "Your daughter systematically excluded her sister from a major life event, lied about it for months, and publicly humiliated her. That speaks to character, to values, and those are things that absolutely affect business." He looked at Arthur. "Son, get your things. We're leaving." Serena whirled on me, mascara running, voice climbing toward hysteria. "This is your fault. You ruined my wedding. I'll destroy you on social media. I have 2.3 million followers. I'll tell everyone what you did." "Federal mail tampering," I interrupted calmly. "Title 18, United States Code, Section 1708. Interfering with the delivery of mail is a federal crime. Up to 5 years in federal prison." That package was sent via FedEx, which operates under federal regulations. You signed for it, acknowledged receipt, and then destroyed it. I looked at her directly. "One post about me. One single post trying to spin this story. And that video goes to the police, to FedEx's investigation department, and to every single one of your brand sponsors, Glossier, Revolve, Sephora, all of them. Let's see how many want to be associated with someone facing federal charges." My mother gasped. "You wouldn't." "I absolutely would," I said. I waited at my wedding for 30 minutes. I cried through my entire ceremony because my family didn't come. I spent 8 months thinking I wasn't worth your time, wasn't worth your love, wasn't worth a single day away from Dallas. And the whole time, Serena knew exactly why you didn't come. I picked up my purse. "Enjoy your wedding night. What's left of it." The last thing I saw as I walked out was Serena collapsed in her chair, sobbing. Arthur walking away with his father. And 300 guests staring in absolute, stunned silence. The aftermath was brutal and swift. By the next morning, the video had leaked. I never posted it, never shared it anywhere, but someone at that reception had recorded my phone screen and uploaded it to TikTok. By Monday morning, it had 4.7 million views. The comments were savage. The sister is evil. Who does this? The way she just threw it in the trash without even thinking about it. Pure sociopath behavior. And then gave her the How to Die Alone book at her own wedding? I cannot. Arthur Sterling is a king for walking out. Respect. Serena's Instagram comments became a nightmare. Every post, every single one going back months, was flooded with comments about the video. How could you do that to your sister? Trash person. Literally. Your followers deserve better than someone this cruel. Within 48 hours, Serena lost 340,000 followers. Within a week, 3 of her major brand partnerships issued statements, pausing their relationships pending further review. Glossier dropped her entirely. Revolve quietly removed her from their affiliate program. My mother called 63 times in the first 3 days. I didn't answer. She left voicemails crying, begging, explaining that she didn't know, that Serena had told them I'd eloped and didn't want them there, that it was all a misunderstanding. My father sent emails, tried to explain about the Sterling deal falling through, about how Serena was going through something and needed family support, about how I was being cruel by not accepting their apologies. On day 4, a FedEx package arrived at my house in Austin. Inside was a check for $50,000 and a typed note on my father's business letterhead. Amelia, I'm sorry for everything that happened. This should help make up for what we missed. Please don't share any more videos or information about the family. The Sterling situation has damaged my business significantly, and we need this to go away quietly. I stood in my kitchen holding that check, feeling something break inside me that hadn't quite broken before. He wasn't apologizing for missing my wedding. He wasn't apologizing for believing Serena over me. He wasn't apologizing for 6 years of making me feel invisible. He was just trying to buy my silence. I tore the check into pieces. Small pieces. Confetti-sized pieces. I arranged them artfully on my kitchen counter, photographed them with my phone, and sent the photo to the Montgomery family group chat. I don't sell my silence, I typed. I'm gifting it to you for free. Don't contact me again. Then I left the group chat. Serena created a burner Instagram account 2 weeks later to send me a message. Please, Amelia, I'm so sorry. Everything's falling apart. I lost half my followers. I lost my brand deals. Arthur won't even talk to me. Mom's on antidepressants. Dad's business is suffering. Please just tell people it was a misunderstanding. Tell them we made up. I'll do anything. I read it twice. Then I blocked the account. My therapist, Dr. Anya Sharma, 15 years in practice specializing in family trauma, had warned me this would happen. People who hurt you will eventually come back asking for forgiveness when they face consequences, she'd said in our session the week after the wedding. But forgiveness doesn't mean relationship. It doesn't mean you owe them access to your life. I don't know if I can forgive them, I'd told her. You don't have to, she'd replied. Forgiveness is optional. Healing isn't. You focus on healing. So I did. I blocked my parents' numbers, changed my email address for everything except work, made my social media accounts private. I built a wall between their chaos and my peace. 3 months later, on New Year's Eve, I spent it with Ben's family in Seattle. His parents had rented a house on Puget Sound with views of the Space Needle. 23 people, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, all crammed into one house, cooking together, playing board games, watching the fireworks over the water. Ben's mother, Evelyn, pulled me aside before midnight. She was wearing a sapphire brooch that had belonged to her grandmother. A real family heirloom, passed down through 4 generations. I want you to have this, she said, unpinning it from her dress. Evelyn, I can't. It's a family heirloom. You are family, she interrupted firmly. She pinned it to my dress, right over my heart. You've been family since the day you married my son. Since before that, really. From the first time Ben brought you home, and you spent 3 hours helping his father fix the deck without being asked. She hugged me tight, and I felt the brooch pressing against my shoulder. A real family heirloom, passed down with actual love, not because someone was trying to buy forgiveness or impress people on social media. Any regrets? Ben asked later, as fireworks exploded over the Space Needle in bursts of gold and silver and blue. I thought about the empty chairs at my wedding, the 30 minutes of waiting, the cruel book Serena had given me, the check torn into confetti pieces. Not one, I said. He kissed me as the countdown hit midnight, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years around my biological family. Safe, valued, loved. 6 months after the wedding, I got an email from Arthur Sterling's lawyer. Not from Arthur himself. I guess his lawyer thought that was more appropriate. The divorce had been finalized. Serena had signed without contesting. Arthur had paid her $75,000 to walk away quietly and sign an NDA preventing her from discussing the marriage or its dissolution publicly. Mr. Sterling wanted you to know, the email concluded, that your video gave him clarity about who he'd married. He's grateful in retrospect that you showed him the truth before he invested more time in the relationship. He wishes you and your husband well. I showed the email to Ben. He read it twice and then looked at me. Do you feel vindicated? No, I said honestly. I feel sad. For all of us. For the family we could have been if anyone had just cared. Their loss, Ben said, pulling me close. Completely their loss. Serena tried to rehabilitate her image, posted a carefully worded apology on Instagram about making mistakes and learning and growing. Never mentioned me by name. Never actually took responsibility. Just vague platitudes about being human and imperfect. Her followers didn't buy it. The comments were brutal. She eventually deleted the post. Then she deleted her entire Instagram account and started over with a new handle, new branding, trying to rebuild from 47,000 followers instead of 2.3 million. Last I heard from mutual acquaintances, people who knew both of us but weren't close to either, she was working as a social media manager for a small boutique in Dallas, making $45,000 a year, living with our parents because she couldn't afford her own place anymore. My father's business recovered eventually. The Sterling deal was dead, but he found other partners, other projects. Smaller projects, less prestigious, but he survived. My mother sent me a birthday card this year. No return address, but I recognized her handwriting. Inside was a simple note. I'm sorry I didn't come to your wedding. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I understand if you never want to speak to me again, but I wanted you to know that I think about you every day. Love, Mom. I haven't responded. I don't know if I will. Dr. Sharma says that's okay. That I get to decide what forgiveness looks like, what relationship looks like, what family means. That I'm allowed to build a new definition with people who actually show up. And I have. Ben's family throws me birthday parties, remembers my favorite foods, asks about my architecture projects, and actually listens to the answers. His mother texts me photos of her garden and asks for design advice on the gazebo she's planning. It's not the family I was born into, but it's the family I chose. And sometimes that's better. Last week, Ben and I were having dinner with his parents when Evelyn asked about our plans for the future. We're thinking about kids, Ben said, squeezing my hand. Maybe in a year or two. Evelyn's face lit up. Oh, how wonderful. Have you thought about names? We had. We've been talking about it for months. If it was a girl, we wanted to name her Evelyn after Ben's mother. If it was a boy, we wanted to name him James, after Ben's grandfather who'd passed away 2 years ago. We want our kids to be named after people who showed up, I said. People who were actually there when it mattered. Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. She reached across the table and took my hand. Your children are going to be so loved. So surrounded by family who will show up for every moment. And I believed her because she'd proven it. She'd shown up to my wedding when my own mother hadn't. She'd included me in family traditions. She'd made space for me at the table. That night, driving home, Ben asked, "Do you think you'll ever talk to your parents again?" Maybe, I said. Someday. When I'm ready. If I'm ever ready. And if you're not ready, then I'm not. And that's okay, too. He nodded. Didn't push. Didn't try to convince me that family was worth forgiving just because they were family. He just accepted my answer and moved on. That's what real family does. They accept you. They show up. They don't throw your wedding invitations in the trash and then act surprised when you're hurt. I'm not the Montgomery daughter anymore. I'm Amelia Vance, architect, wife, future mother, daughter-in-law to people who actually act like family. I design buildings. I design spaces where people feel safe, where they feel at home, where they feel valued. And I've learned to design my life the same way, with careful planning, with strong foundations, with walls that keep out the people who would do harm. Serena made her choice when she threw that invitation in the recycling bin. My parents made their choice when they believed her lies instead of calling me. They chose their comfort over my truth. And I chose myself, chose my husband, chose the family that actually showed up. I have zero regrets about playing that video at Serena's wedding. Zero regrets about exposing the truth. Zero regrets about walking away from people who never valued me. Because here's what I learned. You can't make people love you. You can't make them show up. You can't make them choose you. But you can choose yourself. You can build a life with people who do show up. You can create your own definition of family. And sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just living well, being happy, being surrounded by people who would never, ever throw your wedding invitation in the trash. Serena, my sister, she always craved the spotlight. She wanted to be the golden child, the favorite, the one everyone adored. And in a twisted way, she got her wish that night. She just never understood that attention isn't always good. As for me, all I ever truly wanted was a family that showed up. A family that cared, that loved me for who I was, not for some version of me they'd concocted in their minds. I didn't find that in the Montgomerys, but I found it truly deeply with the Vances.